Well, hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to tear into this Craftsman 46cc. It is a clone saw. It's merely identical to the, what was that thing, the Remington Outlaw we done. I've since parted ways with that and traded it off. Honestly, I think it's been sitting in the building since last fall. We was about to leave the flea market, and Justin Weaver will remember, he was there. I'd met up with him that day. Was delivering some saws, or either picking up some saws, I really don't remember, but there's a gentleman riding around on a side-by-side, and he said, hey, y'all want some, what did he have? Cast iron. Had a bunch of cast iron pots and pans. I've still got 90% of it here. I've gave some of it away, but it seemed like I gave him 40 or 50 bucks for this big load of cast iron. It's all it would do to fit in the back of the wife's little blazer. They had this saw there with it, and we're just going to toss that in the trash. He said, I've got this chainsaw too. He said, I don't know nothing about it, but I think I give him like 40, 50 bucks for every bit of it. Might have been a good deal, might not have, but the cast iron stuff's pretty desirable. You know, whatever it is, what it is, but we all know what these things sell for in the box stores. You know, they're going to tear up a better part of 300 bucks to buy one new from Lowe's. The same thing, so it's like, well, whatever, we'll get it to play with. The little Remington was the same way. I think I gave the dude, it was 40 bucks for it, and that little Craftsman 2.2, which I've got to get a ring and put in, but it had quit running on Dad. He said it got hot and quit. Lost compression. I figured maybe it just kind of gave up the ghost, which it kind of did, but not what you think. The ring in it had a big gap. It looks like somebody's already been into this and swapped those out for something else. But anyway, long story short, I tore that little saw down. It's the little 2.2 that we ported that ran so good. I get a lot of traffic on that video still yet, or any video on that saw, but I tore it down. I had a ring here on an old Piston that the ring gap on it looked good. That thing will just not grab and make any compression at all. I probably should have scuffed up the cylinder in the ring, but I think what we're going to do is just get an aftermarket 42cc cylinder and put in that. Maybe, maybe not. Completely off topic there. Those have a Phillips head back there. That might be factory. Seemed like the other one I done was the same way. Kind of odd that they even bolt there anyway. I mean, the three around the edges would hold the dang thing together. But I will say the clones you get out of the big box stores like Home Depot or Lowe's, the quality of these is just a little bit better than like the really cheap ones you'll get. Now that Black & Decker, quality on that was amazing, but again, it's a box store saw. The little red hot Craftsman of the wife's, which is like the 42cc version of this, but it is a different chassis. It's a clone as well, but it has that big long muffler and the fuel and the oil reservoir in the handle. Lots of videos on those on the channel. They have the purge bulb back here from what I remember, just like this. Not a lot of difference, and I'm sure a lot of the parts interchange between those chainsaws. And if I didn't mention it, everything on this thing except for those two Phillips head screws so far has been T27, which is kind of handy. And I don't think we're going to port this cylinder. My main goal here mainly is to play around with this. I'd really like to know if there's something else we can mate onto it. I've got different cylinders from different saws, and guys, if my hands are in the way, I do apologize. It just is what it is. This is kind of how to, it kind of ain't. I guess I could have been a little more descriptive of what we were doing, but come on guys, we're taking the carburetor off. You can figure that out. And every one of these dang things has that same elbow, I think. I think the last one I went into imported, that Neotech, I'm pretty sure it was plastic on it. I think we can just set that whole deal in our box over here because it may or may not go back on it. I'm not going to spend any money on this. Like I said, I got it mainly for the big load of cast iron stuff the guy had, which there was a lot of it, and I'm sure I could sell a lot of it if I really wanted to clean it up and do it, which we may do. Should be a screw here. Now this, all but the purge bulb, really similar to that Neotech, and honestly, the next video you guys will see after this, I have a Vevor saw. I know most of you have seen them things all over the internet, all over social media. We were lucky enough, I got them to send me one. They had already sent me an email trying to send me something else I couldn't really use, but I did email them back and said, well, whatever, we'll put it to use if you are still up to send it, or we'll do a review on anything else you might have. And the lady got back a hold of me like within hours and sent me the link to that. It's a 6200, which is going to be identical to the Neotech, I think, but it'll still be fun to get it out, run it, put it through its paces. And I'm just going to tell you guys, I beat the hell out of that Neotech saw. I really have not had any issues. The only issue I've had, kind of my fault anyway, like if you try to bore into something that's kind of hard, that boring chain setup that's on it, you can about bet it's gonna toss the chain off of it. But something like that's not really meant to bore into things anyway. We're gonna be lucky if we can get the bolts out of the muffler, because somebody's already stripped out one of the bolts over here in the falling spike, bucking dog, tomato, whatever part of the world you're standing in or part of the country. I will stand by, I can't go out here and fall down a set of steps. I can say I fell down them yesterday, but I better hush. As soon as I say that, I will go out over here and fall down the steps because it's rainy and nasty. I'll tell you what I'm thinking here. I have the cylinder, I have one of those cheap, it's less than a $30 cylinder, and I think I bought a $10 cable ring and put into the time, but I'm thinking a real life poor man's 346. I don't mean a 4910 Echo. I know a lot of people refer to it as that, but them 4910s ain't the cheapest thing in the world to buy, and then if you have somebody else port that thing, you know, you're looking minimum, you know, $600-700 in that thing unless you bought it used. And I priced mine for $500 a year or two ago, and I don't know, I guess people want something for nothing, but that's what it would take to get it, because I paid close to $4 for it and done the machine work on it, ported it, and you know, all of that is here on the channel. Gained quite a bit, over 40% in the hickory. Love that saw. It's one of my favorite go-to saws. Be cool to get something else, you know, that light, which these things are not that light, but it'd just be cool to try to make another cylinder work on this thing. And I'm just trying to do some small talks and running my jaw. And I've got a box over here on the floor I'm throwing this crap in. And, god dang. Those things are about a puzzle to put in and take out. Like I said, I don't know that we'll even put this cylinder or anything back on it. Really love to. I hope, I'm not really into splitting the cases to mill out the inside of them, but when I had the last one apart, I'd done some measurements, and I've got a couple cylinders here. I had all kinds of cylinders, but like I said, I really don't want to buy anything. But what is the name of that cylinder? I'm wanting to say Warhawk. I swear I think it was like HL Supply carried them, I think, at the time. They might still, I don't know, but you know, it was like the cheapest of cheap you could get, I think, at the time. You can get an actual 346 XP cylinder, and I think I did put a cable ring in it, but that saw, I moved it on out of here and ended up putting an open port 350 top end on it. And I still have that Warhawk 346 cylinder. But again, it'd be cool if it'll sit down in here. I don't even know what size wrist pin these things have. It seemed like I seen one of you guys put maybe a 55 cylinder on this same saw. I think I have one of them here, but I think there's something up with the base of it. I don't know. I've got several like 024, 026 cylinders. I've just not really done any hybrid stuff. Thinking about getting into it. It's not as boring, but this is a boring teardown video. Had those Loctited in there good, didn't they? Except for that back one, it just kind of spun right out. I think we got to take a screw out here and a screw out over here. So I kind of jumped the gun on them cylinder bolts. There's many of these damn things that I've had apart, you would think I would know better. We never even got the carburetor up out of there, which I doubt we'll be reusing. I'm thinking 372 carb, 346 cylinder. Come up out of there. Damn, it don't want to come out. There we go. There's what you have. That same carburetor is all the way up to the, what they call a 62cc, which I reckon some of them are, but we'll just say most of the ones I've had a caliper on and checked the boring stroke of are more like 54.5 cc's. I've had several of those things in here over the years. It seems that screw there is never tight in these things, never. Which is odd. That one kind of feels like it's stripped out. Like it pulled up out of there and then I was able just to push it back down into the cases. And like I said, these are not what I would consider a cheap saw. You know, if you pick one up used maybe, but like we did this one. Cylinder looks good. There was like some, I wouldn't really call it scoring, but some really light scuffs on the piston. that I wouldn't worry a bit about. But nice plating on the cylinder. These do have an open port, quad port transfer design, kind of like what you'd see in an open port 350. A lot of your steel clamshell saws look real similar, but yeah. And looks like we do have a 10mm wrist pin set up. That's cool. Hopefully that wrist pin just pushes right out. That would be awesome. What's the chances of that happening there? Looks like pretty good. Good deal. And I'm betting it's going to have them little washers. If you've tore one of these apart, you'll know what I mean. There they are. And if you guys refer back to the Remington, same piston. It's not windowed. Like I said, it is open port, case fed, but the port timing on these things are really good for what they are. You know, if I can't figure anything else out, what we may do is see if we can get a different intake on this thing, and you know, machine and port the snot out of this and put a larger carburetor on it. And the muffler's horrible. It takes a long time, like forever, to set and grind and gut and get all of that garbage out of it. Well guys, there's our first issue. The impulse support's gonna have to go. I'm gonna try to get it out without breaking it. Well guys, I was wrong on the wrist pin size. Evidently this thing has a 12mm wrist pin. Honestly, this cylinder would have been pretty easy to make work, you know, unless we had to do a extensive amount of band work or chop the head off or something. But all it was going to require, the bolt spacing was identical from side to side, but they just needed moved in about half a hole, and this 346 jug would have bolted right on that. But man, I would have swore I seen somebody do like a 55 top end on one of these, but I don't know. Who knows? But I'll look around here and see what else we can find, but it ain't looking good. Well guys, we ain't really having a whole lot of luck here. Or we'll say a 066 660 cylinder will sit right down on there, but the bolt hole spacing's just way out in the left field. I don't even know if you could make it work. An 026 cylinder, everything's just too narrow, too small. 372 wrist pin bearing fits that perfect. 12mm wrist pin. It's an 11 that came out of it. That's kind of what's got us, and I'm sure there's a bearing. I thought maybe an 029 steel bearing would work and pull us down to 10mm, but it was still too loose in the connecting rod. Kind of a weird design, but I've tried several cylinders. I honestly think, and I don't have one here, I looked everywhere, that a Husky 357, 359 cylinder would about just directly sit down on that. Might run into some issues with the transfers and the flywheel, but I was really wanting to make that 346 cylinder work, and you know, we'll dig around, might be able to find a wrist pin bearing that'll work and get us down to 10mm, but you know, I don't want to put something together and it blow up in my face either. We all know how that goes, but anyway guys, this stuff's just for fun. Maybe someone needed to know how to take one of these apart. I'd have to be really damn bored to get in here and port that cylinder and put it back together, and if I did, I'd try to make a custom intake and a bigger carburetor. Because that's kind of the downfall of these things. But anyway guys, thank y'all for watching. Everybody have a good one.